Done that before, and it doesn't work very well. I am self-taught. I didn't go to school for this or take lessons from anybody. I just read those books that you have going around there, and me and a buddy of mine started calling up makeup supply places, and that's how I got into this.
How long have you been?
I've been doing makeup since I was little. I started out with like paper mache and just grease paints and things like that. I've always done elaborate Halloween costumes. I don't know if any of you remember that series Space 1999?
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I made a whole spacesuit, and it took so long to make, we ended up having to paint it the day before Halloween, and the paint wasn't quite dry, but I didn't care. I had to wear it out, and I wore it out all night on Halloween, and I got so sick from paint fumes. The whole helmet was made of this stuff, and I put plastic wrap over, so I was completely sealed in this paint mask. I couldn't figure out why. I just felt woozy. Finally, my dad takes the mask off, and half of it's stuck to the back of my head because the paint's not dry. Well, that was the beginning of a great makeup career. Yeah, I started doing this particular type of appliance makeup in 1987. Somebody tell me, how many years ago is that? Is that 4 years ago? I'd only been doing it at Halloween time. For 87 and 88, I just did like 2 or 3 weeks right around Halloween. I did some makeup work. And I thought, oh, this is so neat, oh, what a great hobby this could be. And then after winning a lot of money at some Halloween costume contests, I realized, hey, I really like doing this, and I'd like to pursue it as a career. And that's how I got into doing my own business. I have an instructional video out right now on how to do latex masks. There's a couple of really good videos on how to do this type of work. They're put out by Michael Burnett. Yeah, if you're interested in something like that, you might want to start out with slip rubber or just latex masks and appliances. They're a lot easier to work with. Foam latex can be a nightmare, even when you know what you're doing. In fact, for this particular convention, I was up for the last 26 hours running foam, running batch after batch of foam to take it out of the oven and see that it was totally ruined and useless. And I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, but sometimes foam latex has a mind of its own. It's kind of like, what are those things, the souffles, and you put it in the oven, and you just got to be real careful and quiet and cross your fingers and hold your breath, and one false move and it falls. Well, that's the same thing that happens to appliances. It's like a surprise, because once it's in the mold and the mold is shut, you don't know what's happening for 4 hours while it's cooking in the oven. So you hold your breath for 4 hours and hope that everything works out. 90% of the time, once you get the hang of it, it works out. Every now and then, when you really don't have a lot of time, that's whenever foam will decide to do things like it did all day yesterday or the day before. Makes life exciting. Any questions?
Okay, you mentioned Burnett's video on the
On doing appliances, just like this, yeah.
Is there any, do you recommend any good book? I mean, obviously the Corson book, but
yeah.
For paints, using highlight shadowing and working with paints?
Yeah, there's a couple good books on stage makeup. One of them is, I don't know if I brought it up, Richard Corson also has a stage makeup book, and it deals in how to do highlights and shadows in grease paint. What's a good appliance that's sculpted well and glued onto the face perfectly if it doesn't have some color. That was one of my weak points when I first started out. I I would make these elaborate things and then just paint them all one color. No highlights, no shadows. I didn't know what they were. But slowly but surely.
Is that painted before it comes off the mold? Is that painted before it comes off the mold?
After. What I do is I glued it down onto that, onto this face right here, and then I airbrush it. I airbrush the base colors, airbrush a few little shadows and highlights, and then grease paint in these kind of, what do you want to call them? Wounds, sores, whatever. These attractive little lesions. I wasn't sure you'd like to see how our zombie's made here at Beauty and the Beast convention. I was considering making myself up as Beauty and the Beast as part of the demonstration. It would save me a makeup job. Yeah. But I was thinking, I was either going to sit in front of you with a mirror in front of me, kind of peeking around, and this is what I'm doing, and then be behind a mirror, or I'd be sitting there with my back to you. I decided I better just leave that whole thing a mystery. So I'll just be appearing as Vincent, and, well, you see how it's done. Would anyone like to try?
Yeah, I would.
Just kidding. They're saying, oh no, you don't.
Back here is just a little bit of the seeds that pass the branches. It's already made up makeup.
Yeah. The first time I did this zombie, I did it all in yellows, grays, and blacks, so it was a big contrast to his face. And most makeup artists save themselves a lot of time by pre-painting the appliance, so by the time I get this all glued on, I only have around the eyes, here, in the middle, and around the outside of the face to do. Otherwise, it'd take another hour to make the face up.
Which is more effective?
I prefer making things up and applying the paints and colors before I put them on, because you're not dealing with a fidgety actor or actress who's like, oh God, I've been here 2 hours, you're not done yet. Well, how long is it going to be? And you can take your time, you can try different things, and you can have a face like this, just sitting in your lap. You can look at it, work around it. When it's on somebody's face, that usually means that it has to be done in a certain amount of time. That's
How long
one.
is the face for? Make a mold
Most.
from his face.
Oh, how long does? You mean the
thing you
mold?
just had in your
Oh,
hand.
the mold?
Yeah, how long
Oh,
does
it
that
lasts
last?
for a long time. In fact, the inside of this mold here will last for years. The outside part doesn't last nearly as long. When you cook plaster in an oven, and I cook my molds at 200 degrees for a couple hours, and then I cool them down for a couple hours. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is there any kind of a surface curing agent that you use on the outside of that?
On the outside,
That is smooth?
no. No, it's just continuing to smooth out the plaster as it sets.
Okay. What kind of plaster is it?
It's these molds that you bake in the oven are called ultra cal. For slip rubber or like masks that don't go in the oven, I use what's called hydrocal. Yeah, ultra cal is one of the only plasters that'll survive being baked in an oven. Because what happens to plaster if ultra cal is a very dense, very hard plaster. It's almost like concrete. And all of these things are reinforced. There's 3 layers of crisscross burlap in between the inside of this mold here and the outside. In fact, you can see some of the burlap poking through right there. And the inside of this face, the same thing again. There's 3 layers of crisscross burlap to give it strength. Because even with this plaster being so thick and so strong, they only last about 5 bakings. And what happens is you cook all the rest of the water out of the plaster and it just starts to crack and crumble. And once the mold starts to crack around the outside edge, it'll ruin your blending edge because the whole mold will start to slowly expand on you. So, everything I do here has to be redone one way or another.